What's up, everybody? Tyson Roush. Let's talk Jets. What a difference like a minute of football time takes, right? This went from being one of the worst losses in Robert Saleh's tenure as a head coach of the Jets to the third win in a row in overtime over the Giants. And it is crazy. It is wild. And probably the perfect example of how winning is a great deodorant. Because while there was some good, there was some very bad that the Jets overcame and they won. And you got to give them credit for adversity, overcoming adversity, being resilient, and everything else. So, a lot to dissect here. I'll probably miss a lot. But on offense, it wasn't pretty at all, man. They were 2 of 15 on third down. And going into the game, we knew it was going to be tough. The Giants have a very good defense. They're going to be aggressive. But it just kept spiraling downward for the Jets, where first Schweitzer goes down. You're like, oh, all right. And I figured Billy Turner would go for him. They bring Xavier Newman in. You're like, all right. Then Connor McGovern goes down. So you have McGovern down, Tippmann down. You're out of centers. So Xavier Newman goes to center. Billy Turner goes to right guard. And they had to find a way to make it work. So they all of a sudden they had when the first snap was a fumbled snap, the Giants get it, which you had to expect. So the offensive line was makeshift. You kind of figured they were going to struggle to run the football, which they probably were going to struggle anyway. And then you figure, but how do they get involved? How do they open up the passing game, which still remains a work in progress? For as much credit as I gave the Jets 2 weeks ago against the Eagles, moving the ball between the 20s, today reminded me of almost the Patriot game last year where Zach just looked, he couldn't make the short throws. He was taking terrible sacks. His football IQ just wasn't there. His footwork was just wasn't there. It was so frustrating that, if I'm being completely transparent, there was a time in the fourth quarter I'm like, play Tim Boyle. And to be really fair, I've been saying Trevor Siemian should be the backup starting this week because you don't want to mail in games. Like, Saleh is so stubborn and arrogant when it comes to Zach that he refuses to take him out of games. And you can't really do that when your offense is this anemic. Now, it paid off for him today. But if it didn't, the story would have been, did you ever consider taking Zach out? And if not, should he start next week? Because you probably shouldn't. Because you're still in the mix here. Especially at 3-4 or 4-3. There's still so much football left that you got to maximize your team's ability to win games. And today it didn't happen. Zach was not good at all today. I give a lot of credit for enduring all that he did. The team could help on the play calling. 3rd and 1 for them is like an enigma. They cannot get 1 yard. They had the one pass on 3rd and 1 that Conklin wasn't open. The other time he missed the throw, the screen pass. It makes you crazy. You see, Zach he's still very inconsistent where he can't make these easy throws. Then he'll make a money throw on the sideline to Garrett Wilson. You're like, where the hell's that been all game? It's just the roller coaster ride is back. So whatever improvement, like again, the way you evaluate Zach is on your last performance. He was building. Today was a step back. He found the way to win the game. He got the big throw in overtime down to Malik Taylor that was called for pass interference. But it just wasn't enough today. I was really, really disappointed in terms of the passing. And a lot of things with Hackett, I don't understand how come they don't feature Conklin more. They don't get Ruckert more involved. You figured they get Garrett Wilson involved, but it just doesn't seem like you see more out of, I don't know, other teams. Like the Jets passing offense looks like it's light years behind other teams some days, and that's today. Today was bad. And I give the Giant defense credit, but it just wasn't good enough on passing. Like you really had no faith in them getting back-to-back first downs. Now, you also had some drop passes. Allen Lazard this is what Allen Lazard is, and this is what Packer fans told us. He can make those, he can make big catches and splash plays. He's going to hit you with a couple drops that drive you crazy. You saw that today. Randall Cobb was out, and there was a time when Gibson was out. And you're like, who the hell are these receivers? And this is where you get nervous trading away McCole Hardman because you need depth. So if I'm looking at the trade deadline, I'm looking for wide receiver help. I'm not going to discount Brownlee, Irv Charles' heart, but you need proven guys here. You got to get guys here to help this young quarterback out. There's no doubt about it. So the play calling was kind of suspect. Drop passes were frustrating, and it's just they found a way. And the other thing with play calling is I don't know why they don't try to do more vertical things. Like take shots downfield. They did it in overtime and it worked. Like you have some speedsters in Gibson and I just talked about him. What the hell's his name? Malik Taylor. You have speed guys take shots downfield. Get the defense off, get off balance a little bit where they can, you can keep them honest. They don't do that. The play action pass makes you crazy because a lot of times Zach's play action pass has gotten a lot better. It's a very good fake, but the ball doesn't go vertical. It's like a 4-yard pass. Dalvin Cook, you didn't see much out of him. I mean, the Jets' offense was just so anemic, man. It was really, really bad. And again, you got to look going forward. I honestly believe if the Jets played anybody else other than the Giants this week, they probably lose. Because you cannot continue to score this little amount of points and rely on your defense this much. And the Jets defense, as good as it is, got a huge benefit today when they knocked out Tyrod Taylor because Brian Dable had no faith in DeVito to throw the ball at all. So you go to defensively, they only give up 7 points because the Jets started off the game with Zach with a fumble. He stripped sack, fumble, lack of awareness, boom. They only give up 3 points, which is good. And the defense did a lot of really good things. The personal fouls will drive you crazy. The one on Jermaine Johnson was ridiculous. Quincy Williams had 2, which just pisses you off. And like these penalties, and the Michael Clemens penalty on 4th and 5. And the Giants were on their 8-yard line. You're like, you've got to be kidding me, dude. Like these little things contribute to losses, but the Jets overcame a lot of it. So Bryce Huff had a sack. Jermaine Johnson had 2 sacks. Quincy Williams is still flying around. Minus the personal fouls, he's playing at a very high level. C.J. Mosley's playing very well. And the Giant offense, once Tyrod Taylor was out, they weren't throwing the ball. So I know Barkley had 130-something yards, but like they had negative passing yards for the game. And that's what made this game so frustrating. You're like, how can the Jets be on the verge of losing this game when the Giants had negative passing yards? It would have been unprecedented. And that's why like I fired out some things. I was just so pissed. I'm like, you're coming off a bye week. You need this win. You're the better team on paper. The better team, especially when injuries started happening. And they were losing. And they probably should have lost the game. You know, the Giants missed the field goal, 2 field goals, I think. And a lot of points. It was an ugly, ugly game. Listen, I'm happy they won, man. Like, you want to be happy they won. But it wasn't even enjoyable to watch. I figured it'd be a close, competitive, tight game with a lot of hard hits and intense action. It was injuries, sloppy play, fumbles, just missed tackles, just penalties. It was just gross. It really was. So you walk away saying you got the win, but you have a lot of questions. The questions first and foremost start with the trade deadline on Tuesday, as Carl Lawson was inactive today. If he's going to be dealt, Tuesday's the day. Then you look at, do you need help at center now? Do you need to go pick up a center? Do you need help at guard? And they need wide receiver help as well. And then the other question is, what do we do with Zach, man? Like, you want to buy into him. You want to give him credit. Like, you give him credit for the resilient play. You got to keep in mind that the Jets were also bailed out when they were coming back with the pass to Garrett Wilson. The offsides bailed him out, dude. That was a huge play, because I don't think they get anywhere near where they're supposed to be, without that penalty. But what do you do with Zach? I just continue to say you make Simmons your backup, and you got to be a little more aggressive. You need to pull him, because you cannot give away games. Like, this was an NFC game, so, against a team with no quarterback. If you do this against the Chargers, it's not going to work out for you, right? So you got to keep that in mind. But the defense always gives you games. And then you got to go to Morstead, who is like a weapon. There was a time in this game when Morstead was your best weapon. He was down in balls inside the 5-yard line, consistent with the punting game. The Jet special teams were getting down there. They're pinning the ball down. Zerline made his kicks, but man, I'm sure I missed a lot too. But this game was just a mess, and I'll take the win. The interesting thing is how everybody keeps calling us negative, and the thing is, we call the game like we see it. Like, the way we try to do our streams is like we're watching the game at a bar. And I was watching that game just completely disgusted. I'm like, this offense is setting the NFL back like 20 years. I mean, I think at one point, both teams are punting the ball like crazy, but we had a quarterback that's supposed to actually move the ball. DeVito is what he is, right? So it's not being negative. It's just like you want to see better performance. And the Jets were close to losing this game. Very, very, they were on like their last lifeline in terms of saving this game, but they pull it out. So you give him credit. And I think even Saleh knows that he got away with one here. He got lucky. But if we're being completely honest with you, this is a game they probably lose in the past. We saw the Patriot game last year to give the punt return. This is a game, another game they would lose, and we'd be off the rails complaining all week. They snuck out the win. Thank God for that, because it's a much-needed win, and you move on. And you hope that they continue to figure out what the hell is going wrong with this offense. And if you got to make changes, because this team is still in the hunt and in the mix, and they can do big things with the defense. But you can't continue to rely on the hold the team less than 10 points, 14 points every week. So, obviously, we'll be live tomorrow night. And for those of you that follow me on Twitter, you saw my tweet. I thought the Jets lost. They're going to lose. And I had to recap. I don't delete anything. We don't delete videos. And for all of you that are coming after me now with the whole, I thought Zach was improving. He showed improvement the last couple weeks. Today was clearly a step back, and I'll own that. It was not good. It was not pretty. And I would have benched him. Talk to you later.